For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a brand new full awning from Telta. With me here today I've got the Telta Apex Air full awning. So the Apex is really, as it suggests, it's designed to fit obviously full length of your caravan rail. They do a range of sizes depending on how big or small you want to be. Really sort of start from a size 10 and work up to a 19, and they do, as time goes on, they may sort of introduce a few sizes here and there. The difference being is actually, it's a little bit different to their lounge, which is almost their little sort of sister in a way. This is now a 3-meter awning with the Apex, whereas the lounge was a 2.5. This also is designed to be more for residential use, for longer stays, for for extended periods of time, whereas the lounge is that more touring awning. So there's no reason you can't use this actually purely as a touring awning. If you wanted that 3-meter deep, high spec material, then that certainly works well. Now, even though essentially it's still an air structure, so it's a fully inflatable structure from as a single inflation point located here and then 3 deflation points to get the air out. It can be pitched very easily. As seen, we've done a separate kind of tutorial sort of pitching video on the Apex showing you how simple it was to put up. The crucial thing with anything like this, certainly with full awnings, is getting into the rail. Once you're in the rail from there, it's an absolute dream. Sit there with a chair, comes included with an electric 12-volt pump as well, so you can press a button, does the hard work for you as well, so that's really quite nice and easily. But it comes in kind of 2 bags, again, to make it a bit more kind of easy to sort of pitch and easier to sort of move about as well. So what you find is you have sort of a 1 big bag, mainly to house the main body, and then the side panels can go into a separate bag, making it easier and smaller when you're distributing it around the weight. So you can put it into the caravan easier. And again, if you want to make sure you're more balanced when you're sort of towing it, or again, being it's more kind of residential, it gives you that full flexibility on that front as well. I think there's a largest size in size 19 at the moment. I think runs about 20, I think it's about 27 kilograms with just the roof and the inflatable structure. So again, for a big, massive awning, talking at least 6-7 meters long, or longer actually, it gives you a hell of a lot of room. Now, what you see here is a size 18. So it's sort of on the top end scale. When you move down the collection, you do find rather than 2 front panels with the windows, you move into 1. So once you get, I think it's around about sort of 13, 14, that's when it kind of changes. Now, like I said, this awning has been really designed to be more residential, so something you're going to use pretty much, 9 months of the year if need be. And it's been built, everything about it's been built for that. So what we find actually, we've got a new kind of fabric, once I get the frisbee, which is kind of Telta's Soltex fabric. So the Soltex fabric is a bit of a combination. So they use different materials to kind of get the best sort of wear and tear and longevity of it. So what we find is the roof section itself is basically made from a 310-gram polypropylene kind of material. The joist is actually taken from the medical trade, so it's very easy to clean. It doesn't take a lot of maintenance involved in it. And what you tend to have, you have like a smooth side and a rough side. So you've got the smooth side on the outside, so water can bead off properly, and then kind of like a more rough textured side, we'll call it, so on the inside. Now, the joist is actually, it's not breathable, but what you find is moisture can kind of just it doesn't you find it drips down, it just sort of settles and dissipates throughout the awning as well. So that's one of the quite nice things. Now, so with the roof section, easy clean. Now, what they've actually then do is for the sides, the front and the sides, and even a little brow canopy, they've used an acrylic fabric. So joist of acrylic, you get that breathability. You still get that kind of longevity as well. So it's a real nice robust fabric, especially against the UV sunlight. So if you're using it in Spain, France, or those high UV places, let alone the UK or Scandinavia for that matter, it still can pretty much cope with most weathers. So one thing that's been quite impressive, even though you've kind of got a real nice weather type roof, the sides which obviously allow breathability is you don't seem to find too much condensation inside of it. You always have to get it in the awning depending on what you're using, but that's one thing that's been quite impressive about this. And also the acrylic is dope dyed or solution dyed, so you haven't got kind of that higher resilience against fading as well. So pretty much it shouldn't really change over its lifespan. It kind of stays on point for a long period of time. So for me, it's a bit of quite an upgrade when you compare it to say like the Teltex fabric, which again is more touring use. It's a different animal altogether. Now, having that kind of 3-meter depth means that, it's for a seasonal pitch, it's on the higher end of spec things. We do obviously deeper awnings like 3.5, but it's amazing how much space you got in there, especially because you're going full length for the caravan. The extra depth works really well, and because we're kind of more traditional kind of Apex kind of very flat traditional roof, so we're going up to there. Because you're on a really nice high point centrally, it feels really quite spacious inside. The thing I do really like about the sort of the Apex model essentially as well is the fact that you've got big PVC windows around the outside of it. But more importantly, you've got actual zip down and zip off, for that matter, covers, again, made from acrylic. So when you leave the site for a period of time, you can zip that down really quite nice and neatly. So it's very easy to do. But when you want to be inside of it, the last thing you want to do is have a rolled up bit of fabric at the top here. So what Telta have been really clever in doing is they've actually created a very seamless part that can zip off. So as you can see here, I've kind of give you all eventuality. So we've got obviously fully down, halfway, rolled up to the top if you want to leave it like that, and then zipped off itself. So this front part can just zip off nice and neatly. And then you've only got your own little sausage again. But you just get that more, so when you're using your last, you want to do is have this little part located on the top here as well. So, and one thing I do think as well, with the look of the fabric as well, it's got a real kind of textured, kind of almost like a denim kind of look. So it looks very premium. And definitely one thing you can really tell, on camera, I think just that it got like a two-tonal grey, like a more of a darker kind of grey-black. There's a little kind of flits to it, I suppose. And when you're in the inside, you can sort of see the weave of it. Again, it just oozes a bit of class in general. Now, we've got, like I said, a 12-volt pump comes with it as standard. 9 psi is the recommendation pressure you're going up to that as well. And it also all pumped from the inside. Now, each point inside where it distributes, we'll come into that later on, there's little isolation taps, so it means you can still segregate every single tube off one another. So God forbid you have an issue, you can actually change, isolate that. They've also changed to like a ball bearing kind of shut-off point as well, so they're a little bit more reliable. And it's just again was one of those things that kind of they sort of evolutionise everything really. Ground canopy over the top, so it means you can create a little veranda with the front panel if you wanted to. And there's also little Velcro tabs on the inside of the canopy as well. So if you wanted some additional lighting to go down there and just to flood your sort of porch area, again, that's really quite a nice option as well. Because the panels are completely removable, the fronts and sides of that, it does become almost like a sun canopy. So you could almost use it like that if you really wanted to on a hot day. And the side panels itself are interchangeable. So what you find is you've got a really nice big 70% window and a 30% door. So where we've got here, the door is located at the back. So again, I've got a mesh part to it as well, so we have airflow into it. But if we changed them over, what you find is the door then moves to the front section as well. So you can have that much sort of as a front entrance rather than being back in the caravan. We've also got a mesh panel on the front edge as well. So Telta's been very clever where the side panels here are basically the same throughout most of their ranges. So you can still benefit from options of mesh panels. They do a special residence annex as well for this as well to match the fabric for those longer stays. And you have an annex on either side if you wanted to. The annex can be used for sleeping or storage or just whatever you want it. It's a good amount of space with a good amount of height. Kind of ticks a box really on that point of view. Straps are located on the front here. We've also got webbing straps here which are included as well, so that's really quite nice. But actually let's kind of bring the camera around and get a bit more of a better understanding of the inside of the awning. So now we're inside the Apex. First thing you can see is that sheer depth, that 3 meters deep with that very vertical front wall just feels massive. It's just so much space here, which means it's perfect for, like I say, if you're creating at home away from home, which is kind of your residential awning tends to be, you can have a big table in here, maybe a couple of cupboards and things like that. So you've got tons of room in there. And again, that extra bit of depth, you are a bit off the caravan step. So when you sort of come out of the awning itself at the caravan, you're then into your lovely sort of living area. There is there's a carpet as well that you can buy for this, again designed for the Apex itself. What you will see is it is reversible as well, so you can choose between a light side and dark side depending on what you want to do. Personally, I'd probably like the light side up, just to kind of add more light into it. We've got Apex ventilation points located up here as well, so it helps in sort of increase airflow. We've also mentioned on the side door where you've got a normal door, there's also your mesh there. Mesh in that front section as well, just again, that really helps to circulate air and sort of again, just give it a bit more fresher feeling here. There is a draft skirt, comes as standard with the awning itself. But what you can do, as previously mentioned on the outside, you can buy a veranda pole. which will basically span across. So you've got little lugs located here to span across the width, and then that whole panel can fold down. Basically, you have additional zip pullers, just like that. So again, you can create that kind of rounder pole by having a pole in place. Makes life a lot easier. It gives you a bit of a better understanding about it, and actually, from a light point of view, adds a lot more natural light into the awning itself. One thing as well, what you find with that is you have option to remove front panels, add additional mesh panels onto it as well. So that's a really nice new thing that they've brought out. Now, when you're inside of here and you're using it and you haven't got the external blinds in, you've got kind of traditional caravan curtains which can slide across, so you can get an element of privacy when you want to as well. So when you're using it, just nice and neatly comes across. You've got little ties just located there. So because the panels are very flat, you haven't got to worry about having anything to hold it in place. When you move to the side, there is a little bit of a bit of rope, just to kind of cord really, to pull that and keep that panel flat against it, because it kind of naturally leans in. But again, when we're done with it, we haven't got to worry about tying anything or button clips. It can just literally sit in there as well. As previously mentioned, on the outside, where there are on the front canopy those little points for a light, we've got the same idea with here. So we've got Velcro tabs located here, here, here. So we can put lighting pretty much anywhere we wanted to. Or if need be, we can always run a cable down through these points here and run basically to the main lighting. You can buy a range of lighting that fits. Things like the Sabre lights, 150s are probably the best options to kind of go for. We also mentioned on the outside about having that single point inflation. So we've got one point inflation on the outside, the air comes in, comes out and distributes itself through these taps. One thing Telta have done really well is they've tried to make it as robust as possible. They use a really nice strong TPU tube, so again, really reliable on that point, with a nylon sleeve, so again, structurally very strong and designed really to last. You've got a 3-year warranty on your tubes as well as a 2-year warranty on kind of the overall workmanship. So again, they're backing up what kind of they're doing in the whole. Been doing Telta for a number of years now, and actually, as anything with anything manufactured by hand, you always get a little bit of issues here and there, but they've been very good actually in terms of getting it sorted for us if there has been the odd occasion we had to find something. Other things to point out on the lounge is the fact that the same veranda pole that goes on the front can also go front to back. So you can have a hanging rail from front to here. There's a little clip located there and at the top there as well. Just kind of sit there. We've also got an accessory track point on here. So you want to store organizer units, they can go on there really quite smartly. A draft skirt comes as standard, but you do have to pay for an additional wheel arch cover. Just because some people have single axles, some have twins, depending on the sort of overall size of it as well. We've got a hard-wearing PVC mud skirt on the base. So again, if you're going on hard standing or muddy areas, that's really quite nice, robust. And we've got, even though you've got 2 panels or a big window panel at the front, you've got this built-on kind of natural door as well. So that way, if you never wanted to come in from the sides, or you had an annex on either side, you can utilise this as your main kind of entrance, and then you're sort of into your main kind of living area. There's additional points located on the tubes, which are there if you wanted to hang anything you wanted kind of on there, little clips, or even just run cables across the roof. Again, that's entirely up to yourself. But they've got a really nice oversized tube, and it's really kind of, certainly from a structure point of view, that's pretty, I'm trying to put all my weight onto that, it's pretty robust. You know, that's in the centre end, probably, the corners probably, if anything, is the strongest point on the actual awning itself. But actually, let's kind of get the camera around to have a bit more of an up closer look. So, where do we want to start? We'll start, so you can see obviously the beams along the roof section there, again, really quite strong. This is the accessory track, it's just on the bottom of there. There is also 2 sizes of beading as well, as mentioned on there. So it's 5mm and 7mm beading. Well, sorry, it's 7 and 8, yeah. So stronger, kind of, just to give a bit more, depending on the caravan rails, just to fill that gap and stop any water from seeping in. Of course, depending on the full awning size, you will find there's a bit of play in the sides just to take that extra slope, because there are quite a variant of it. But we see on there as well how we've got the curtains, mesh panels, and then the nice PVC mud skirt with little holes as well to peg directly into. Now, because the front panels have, like I said, 4 zip pullers, you can, albeit a bit saggy, well, you can just kind of give yourself a bit more extra space on that side. But again, that roof section looks so really nice and taut. Actually, probably see a little bit of difference between the fabric maybe if we zoom in. But the texture of it is almost like a kind of it's like a wool kind of style. That's what it looks like. And then you've got the smoothness point here. We've got it's a clip point located there. That's the only kind of main points coming directly forward. And then we've got this ones that come out the side just to give a bit more. Now, deflation points located there, and there's also a little bung just to chuck in the end of it when you're leaving it for a period of time. Just really nice. Again, PVC around the bottom here as well, just to give it a bit more hard wearing. Ladder system around the sides, which works really well. Again, you can adjustability on the height. And then the kind of canopy depth, just enough so when you have a little veranda, you've got a little bit of shelter directly above it. The Velcro tabs always be a bit dark and just located basically in there, but you can probably see there better with the grey material. And then we've got the little zips, so for the little blinds, so there's a zips on the sides, as well as on the top. So again, very easy to take off. You've got little points there, which also keeps it neat and tidy as and when you need to. You can just zip on there. Actually, it's one area Telta's done an awful lot of work to try and make it look really quite smart. And you can see a bit more, actually a two-tonal, a bit better light. There you go. Difference in the colour fabric works really well. There is a slight curve on the zips on the inside for where the tubes are. That is completely intentional, just because it's the way the awning's being overall designed. As we kind of come around the side, we have got an apex ventilation point at the top here, so not pardon the pun, but again, a bit of ventilation naturally there. It always stays open, and you can probably see there the slightly different size rail. So you've got the two different size rail, one in the channel and an additional one there as well. But it sits really well. There's a little bit of, you've got the ability to splay it out if you need to as well. So it doesn't have to be straight. And it depends on, like I say, where you're fitting your sizing rail, whether you need to extend it or pull it out on a hole. But no, I think just everything about it kind of just oozes a lot of class. It's one of those things, again, like I said, seeing it in the flesh is probably that extra bit of thing, but I can't really think, certainly, of another air awning. I can't think of another air awning on the market where something sits as well as what we're looking at here. You've got the material, you've got the other thing as well is a special kind of coating on the acrylic fabric, which is sort of sides, so it's basically like an anti-mark kind of thing. So it's designed to basically just make it a bit more robust, a bit more rugged. So you can see how seamless that looks when you've got the door front section there and there. I think, so to conclude on the whole, I think it's really well made. You've got a good warranty with it. The materials they're using are kind of top end sort of stuff. So naturally it's not going to be the cheapest item, and it's not, but you very much pay for what you get. If you compare it to sort of other things on the market, be it from, I mean, it's going to be a little bit cheaper than something like from Isabella, better than something like in terms of spec and things from compared to Dreamer. It's very similar, similar-ish parts of the Dometic, but nothing does a 3 metre deep awning. And if you're looking for a 3 metre deep awning for touring or seasonal use, that's where I think the Apex comes into its own. And if you like the concept and you want something that's big, they do a porch version as well. So you can check out the estate, which can be done a separate video on as well. But no, I think just the devil and the details with how it looks, the clean look, it's very minimalistic. I think that's what I think I like it. It's just very simple. Nothing flamboyant. Everything works and is practical. Very much practical person on that front. Yeah, and again, it just oozes class. But for more information, check the link below this video. You can always contact us if you have any more questions or queries, but hopefully it's been helpful. And we've done a separate pitching video you can check out as well. But otherwise, we'll hopefully see you again soon on our next Attwoolls Outdoors video review.